Am I blowing your cover when I announce that there's going to be a big raid in Chicago on Tuesday? Or do you want people to know? Maybe they can self-deport.
First of all, if you came into the country illegally, by definition, you are a criminal of some kind. It's what the American people voted for. They want this situation controlled.
In this video today, Trump's border czar Tom Homan issues a major warning to sanctuary cities. Also, Joe Biden, with just days of his presidency ending, he believes he can add on to the Constitution. These stories and more in this video today. But let's start with the breaking news and what Tom Homan had to say.
Am I blowing your cover when I announce that there's going to be a big raid in Chicago on Tuesday? Or do you want people to know? Maybe they can self-deport.
There's going to be a big raid all across the country. Chicago is just one of many places. We got 24 field officers across the country. On Tuesday, you're going to expect ICE. ICE is finally going to go out and do their job. We're going to take the handcuffs off ICE and let them go arrest criminal aliens. That's what's going to happen.
What has ICE been doing for the last 4 years?
They haven't been able to do much because Secretary Mayorkas had new ICE priorities. That ICE, get this now, the Secretary of Homeland Security has told ICE, you can arrest an illegal alien if he's just here illegally. He's got to be convicted of a serious crime or be a national security threat. He told immigration officers not to enforce immigration law. Well, we're telling ICE, you're going to enforce immigration law without apology. You're going to concentrate on the worst first, public safety threats first, but no one's off the table. If they're in the country illegally, they got a problem.
Now, the story that is catching people's attention is this article published by the New York Times. Trump officials plan immigration raids in Chicago next week. Now, you heard what Tom Homan said. Oh, it's not just in Chicago. It's all over the country. Now, later in this article, Don Terry, who is a spokesman for the Chicago police, had this to say, quote, they would not intervene or interfere with any other government agencies performing their duties, but said that it does not document immigration status and will not share information with federal immigration authorities. And that's just sad because imagine that. What if they had, just for the sake of this argument here, 20 murderers and known rapists in Chicago? They crossed the border illegally and they've committed these crimes. So you're not going to let ICE know about those individuals? You're not going to allow ICE to deport them? I mean, this is a mess already. Now, if you thought what the Chicago police spokesman had to say was delusional, wait till you hear this take from a guest on CNN. Watch this.
You know, this is what Trump ran on. He ran on scared politics. I think it's important to center this conversation to talk about immigration some, and that the last full month of the Biden administration here in December was the lowest crossing at the border since 2020 when Donald Trump was president. Do I agree that if there's bad people here that have committed major crimes, they should be kicked out of this country? Absolutely. But 68% of all the Latinos in America know somebody that's undocumented. And for all you folks at home, that's the folks who's picking your salad and milking your cows. On CNN tonight, in South Dakota, our farmer came on this show and talked about how he had voted for Donald Trump and didn't really think Donald Trump was going to deport the men and women who are milking his cows. Milk's finna go up. Buckle up.
There's just a part of me that doesn't believe that they believe in what they are saying, because he's so out of touch with this, all right? The first thing is using this whole argument that, well, Joe Biden in the last few months had the lowest border crossings. Okay, you know what that is saying? That's like me saying, well, gas has gone up from $2 to $5 per gallon, and now that it's at $5 per gallon, it hasn't gone up. So it's been the lowest over the past 4 months. That doesn't make any sense, okay? People are not that stupid, but Democrats still want to use that argument. And secondly, why are they so concerned with someone who's picking crops and not the person who's the murderer and the rapist? Don't you want those people out of here? Now, I'm sure you scratch your head and wonder, yeah, why wouldn't they want those people out of here, right? Well, it's because they have more compassion for the illegal criminals than they do for American citizens. Let me give you an example. Here's Democrat Ro Khanna from California.
First of all, the Democrats should stand as a party that still supports the role of immigrants in America. I mean, I voted against the Laken-Riley Act because what that act would have done is said we can deport people if a sheriff says they've done something wrong without even giving them a trial. I mean, we gave the Nazis trials before having convictions. We need to stand for the rule of law, and we need to talk about who a lot of these undocumented people are.
Okay, so once again, let's use their math. If someone who's known to be a murderer or rapist or just a criminal from another country crossed the border illegally, maybe hasn't committed a crime, you're telling me the only way we should be able to deport them is they have to commit a crime here, even though they've already committed crimes in other countries. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. And you know who pointed this out? Scott Jennings, because he made it very clear that just by crossing the border illegally, that makes you a criminal.
Well, first of all, if you came into the country illegally, by definition, you are a criminal of some kind. A. B, it's been made pretty clear the priority is to find people who are here who have otherwise criminal records on top of that, have committed violent crimes. And see, this is what the American people voted for. They want this situation controlled. It's out of control. You've had millions of people flow into the country, including a lot of violent people. If they succeed right out of the gate in catching those folks, yes, this is what the bureaucracy is for, though, is to help sort this out. But you can't let, in my opinion, the perfect be the enemy of the good. And the good right here is to get immigration crisis under control in this country.
Yeah, so the bad habit that these Democrats have is they don't take issues very seriously, right? The actual issue that most Americans care about, which we just saw in the past election. The border security is a serious issue for Americans, not, oh, someone's going to come and deport my uncle. That's not a major issue right now because that hasn't happened. What has happened is people have been murdered, raped, apartment complexes taken over. Those things have happened, and those things need to be addressed. I don't get why they don't get that sentiment from American people, because this is what they voted for. Now, what's interesting is while scrolling on X, I found this bulletin for Chicago residents, or really Chicago illegal migrants, that if ICE comes to your door, you should do the following. Let's just read this together. 1, don't open the door without a valid warrant signed by a judge. 2, remain silent. You have the right to not speak. 3, don't sign anything without speaking to an attorney. And 4, call your attorney or seek legal help at that following number, which I probably know the taxpayers of Chicago is funding whoever's answering that phone call, which is just sad. And yes, they have one for what happens if ICE comes to your work and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, the fact that these sanctuary cities are planning to fight against Trump, all they're really doing is making this out to be something that it's not. They're making it harder than it needs to be. And they are going to be the root cause of the problem here. There are murderers, rapists, and criminals that need to be removed from this country. They need to get out of the way. That's exactly what Tom Homan said. All right, so I want to make sure I'm not the one that's tripping here, okay? Let me know, do you guys truly support mass deportation? Let me know what your answer is in the comment section below. Now, I definitely do, because you may say it's ugly. It's not really the option everybody wants. Fine. But what's worse, mass deportations or a mass invasion? Right? I mean, come on. And we are no nation without borders. Okay. We need to get back to common sense here. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Even though Democrats think this is just Trump bluffing for political points, these illegal migrants don't think so, because News Nation is reporting that they are now self-deporting.
Trump has promised to carry out the largest deportation operation in U.S. history. And before those operations begin, some migrants are already choosing to leave the country voluntarily. News Nation's Jorge Ventura joins us live from San Antonio, Texas this morning with more on this story. Jorge, how many migrants are we actually seeing doing this, leaving voluntarily?
Right now, Marky, it's unclear, but we are starting to see a trend, and this comes as cities across the U.S. and Mexico are now bracing for President-elect's deportation operation. But his hardline messaging on those deportation efforts have some migrants panicking and some even choosing now to self-deport back to their home countries. I spoke with immigration attorney Rolando Vasquez, who tells me that some of the immigrants that he represents that entered under the Biden administration are now choosing to return home, fearing deportation under the incoming administration.
So my thing is, why don't they just leave the country, make up some documentation, and then come back through the legal way? I don't know. But this is a tough situation all around, because if they go back into Mexico, the fear then is that the cartels will get them and use them for their own benefit, of course. However, this just shows you that there are people taking what Trump is saying seriously, and they should. Now, before we get to this next story, given that we are in a new year and the tax season is coming up, I want to share a message from today's sponsor of this video, Tax Network USA. Do you owe back taxes? Are your tax returns still unfiled? Did you miss the deadline to file for an extension? Well, now that October 15th is behind us, the IRS may be ramping up enforcement. You could face wage garnishments, frozen bank accounts, or even property seizures if you haven't taken any action yet. But there is still hope. Tax Network USA has helped taxpayers save over $1 billion in tax debt and has filed over 10,000 tax returns. Yes, they specialize in helping people just like you reduce their tax burdens, and they can help you too. Don't wait any longer. Visit tnusa.com/Devori or call 1-800-958-1000 for a free consultation. Their experts will walk you through a few simple questions. They see how much they can save you. Act now before the IRS takes more aggressive steps. Let's move to this next story that is just pure delusion. Okay, we're talking about deranged Reed, who's now claiming that Trump and Republicans and this whole right-wing media ecosystem stole the 2024 election. I know. Let's just react to it. Watch this.
They're even talking about like stealing an election. And it's making me rethink whether I do believe like election machines can be hacked. Because I've always been like, you can't hack the election machines, but they're like convincing me, I don't know, maybe you can. I don't know.
I mean, to me in this world, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
There are all these conspiracy theories out there about Trump and whether or not they cheated. I know you say that they didn't, but I know you kind of have
wait
to
a minute.
say
I
that.
didn't say they didn't. What I said is there is a rational explanation for why Kamala Harris could have lost those swing states and Trump won them. There's a way you can get to those numbers with people staying home or only voting for Trump and not the rest of the ballot. I'm saying there's a history of that. However,
let me hear it, because what
I will say is there was absolute voter suppression that took place, and I consider that cheating. If you think about the voter law in your state of Georgia, that law is anti-voter.
Okay, so let us just debunk this stupid nonsense about voter suppression in the state of Georgia. In 2024, the total number of votes that were casted was 5.2 million. In 2020, the total number of votes that was casted, and this was COVID, people, 4.9 million. And in 2016, the total number of votes that were casted was 4 million. So if voter suppression is real in the state of Georgia, why would we have more votes this time around than in the last two elections? It just doesn't make any sense.
When you have bomb threats only in Fulton County, we don't know how many people stayed home out of fear because of the bomb threats in Fulton County. When you have Elon Musk waving around $1 million checks in order for people to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Right. There's so many things that were done that were nefarious, to put aside just the actual voter suppression in these anti-voter laws that kept people from registering, that messed up people's voter registration when they showed up and all of a sudden they're not on the rolls.
But that happens every year, right? That happens
every
all
election.
the time.
So yeah,
what
I
I'm
think things
talking
happen.
about are these conspiracy theories about Elon Musk, somehow using his tech connections, because I don't want to say genius because we know he's not.
Yeah, he ain't a genius.
But those relationships or whatever, because they just seem too confident.
Well, it seems to me that you guys are too delusional and you lack intelligence around this particular issue. When you come out and say that Elon Musk is not a genius, I mean, I'm already done listening, because clearly you don't want to operate in true reality. That's the first thing. The second thing is the Democrats, Kamala Harris, she outraised Donald Trump. Okay. The bottom line is she was a terrible candidate. And the sooner you guys can accept that, then you guys will be able to move on. That's just the bottom line here. And if they wanted to actually intelligently critique this, just come out and start bashing Citizens United, which allows millionaires, billionaires to donate money to campaigns. If you don't want that to happen, start raging against that. Don't go shoot the messenger or Elon Musk because you don't like that he did what he did. But let's not forget, there is a guy named George Soros who's outspent and out-donated Elon Musk. So there's that. Okay, so we got to get to this other story that went viral today. And this is Joe Biden, again, making a fool of himself. He doesn't even know the actual Constitution. He's forgotten it. He doesn't even recognize the amendments. He made one up here. And I'm going to read it to you. This is all based on the idea that there should be equal rights and protections under the law, regardless of someone's sex, gender, or identity. This is a total woke move here from him once again, or his handlers, of course. But here is the post, and then I'll show you a clip. Today, I'm affirming what I've long believed and what 3/4 of these states have ratified. The 28th Amendment is the law of the land, guaranteeing all Americans equal rights and protections under the law, regardless of their sex. Now, what's interesting is Community Notes came in for the win once again by saying this. The National Archives, who is responsible for enrolling new amendments, has stated that the ERA has not been lawfully ratified, citing a legal opinion drafted by the Biden Justice Department Office of Legal Counsel in 2022, confirming this position. And when you actually click on the link, it'll take it to the website where they have a statement saying that this has not been ratified, this is not even approved, this isn't even constitutional. Now, the main issue here is this is just, again, for political points, okay? We already have the 14th Amendment, okay? That already protects people, all right? That's number one. And number two, this isn't even approved. So why would you go out there and make this statement? And not only did he make a statement on social media, but he also said it publicly, and he had to scream it. Watch this.
Just over 100 years ago, a pioneering group of women proposed the Equal Rights Amendment to enshrine the principles of gender equality in our Constitution. Throughout my career, I've been clear. No one should be discriminated against based on their sex. And in order for the amendment to be ratified, it requires 3/4 of the states to ratify it. That benchmark was passed when Virginia ratified the ERA a few years ago. Today, I affirm the Equal Rights Amendment to have cleared all the necessary hurdles to be added to the U.S. Constitution now. The Equal Rights Amendment is the law of the land now. It's the 28th Amendment to the Constitution now. I consulted dozens of constitutional scholars to make sure that it was all within the power to do this. And the fact is, we did.
Okay, well, this is nothing new from Sleepy Joe. I guess he believes he has the power to change the Constitution when he sees fit. He has no approval in this regard. There is no such thing as the 28th Amendment. But hey, who cares? It's Joe Biden, right? And he's been gaslighting Americans ever since he came into the presidency. So what difference does that make now? And of course, the people who are delusional will eat this up and say, yeah, Joe Biden, greatest president of all time because he pushed for this. Okay, whatever.
Did the president just announce he added things to the Constitution? How? It sounds like Biden thinks he just added an amendment. Here's the thing. There is no 28th Amendment. If Trump announced he'd made an amendment to the Constitution, all hell would break loose. But the media is not even taking Joe seriously. They're like, he says things. Two people close to Biden tell NBC that, quote, privately, Biden has vacillated from feeling melancholy to resigned to angry to wistful as he reflects on his legacy. Have you ever seen a man go through so many mood swings? Is he having menopause?
Now, I had to play that clip from Jesse Waters because, I mean, the guy is just too funny, right? And I loved his reaction on this. Now, you may not like this reaction because, of course, the woke mob had to protest this in front of the National Archives building because they believe Joe Biden is in the right here. Check this out.
We demand equal rights. What do we want? ERA. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? ERA. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down.
It's interesting how they're protesting the idea that they don't have equal rights, standing in the middle of the road, okay, blocking traffic, and obviously screaming this, which is disrupting people's peace. But they don't have equal rights. Okay, I guess that makes sense. All right, so here's a question for you guys to answer in the comment section below. Do you support the mass deportation raids that will take place across the nation? Chicago, LA, potentially New York. How do you feel about that? Do you believe that this is not a good idea, Are you scared that your aunt and uncle will be taken as well? Just let me know what your whole reaction is to this in the comment section below. Now, the folks that actually should be scared is CNN, because they did lose in court to a bombshell ruling in the defamation case between them and a Navy veteran. They've already found that CNN is liable for $5 million, and the jury is still out for the rest of the punitive damages, which some people are saying will be more than $100 million. Well, we talked about that and more stories from earlier today. So if you guys want to check out that video, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.